This oral showing you there, Simon Chav Dalid, Sif Lamed Beis. This is day 123 of the Supplemental Arukh HaShulchan Yomi series. Lamed V'dah. You should know, Zesh HaManu, the Akir Simon uprooting the Simon from its place, Kozman Shuchai, as long as it's alive, ain't a treifa. It's not treifa. Treifa once it's shackled. Lav Klal, it's not a general principle. Hedger Mu Chazal, Chazal says explicitly, Siman Shi Dazlu Baruban, Simanim which have collapsed, and the majority are treifa. But in Kenu, this concept, Shiniklaf Aveshem Min Alechi. If the esophagus had been peeled off of the cheek, the jaw, but the flesh between the cheek and the esophagus is connected to the esophagus. And it means that the cheek has been peeled off of the veshet, and the meat, which is together, remained with the veshet. I feel like kosher. I mean, the cheek is entirely peeled off, it's kosher. Zeltnan, as it says, nita lechetachlam, the lower jaw has been removed, it's kosher. I'm using cheek and jaw interchangeably, obviously. But when the veshet is completely peeled off, both the jaw and the flesh, to peel its entirety, kosher mechaim, it's kosher while it's alive, again, which is meaningless because ancient demaros. Well, shchita is not effective. Nikab minority is peeled. Rubokai, most of it's intact. Kama shchita moel slow, shchita can also be effective. V'im niklaf the majority is peeled off. Tolibam bridos, it depends how they're separated. The minority, which remains in one place, most of shchita can shecht it. The minority is not in one place. It's scattered here a bit and there a bit. Even though the minority, which remains scattered, it would be much more than the minority, which would be in only one place. Is not effective at this point. Is when the minority is scattered. You can see that it's been disconnected with force here and there. When the minority is only one place, even though it's only a small amount, it's clear that it's peeled off not with power but gently. Which would be okay. So if the esophagus is peeled off of the cheek, and its flesh, but still connected somehow to the trachea. But if the trachea has been separated from the esophagus, so the esophagus has been separated from the trachea for the majority of its length, it's alive. So that's the tour of Simon Zet. That's going to the tour here. I'm Simon Lam Gimel. So that's Rosh opinion of Rosh. That's Rashi. That's going to Rashi. When it's uprooted a little bit here, a little bit there. It's also trade, but it's alive. So Simon Shi that the rule. This is money which have been collapsed in their majority. Treifa, that they're treifa. Shalom Chazal. Rosh for tour Zeu Iker Simonim. According to Rosh and Tour, this is something else. It's called Iker Simonim. Similar uprooted. It's shchita is not effective. But while it's alive, it's still kosher. Again, good point. So the siman where the majority is collapsed, that's something else. When the esophagus has been separated from the trachea. In brackets it says but okay, not important for us right now. Let's see if Lamatzai is going to clarify this more. Lamed Aleph of Rambam. Shocking. Rambam has Rambam's different opinion on all this. The Perek Gimel, Kosam Perek Gimel writes Ikor case of what's Ikor. Gonche is where such as, for example, the trachea has been uprooted. Vuhu Kona or Veshet, which is either the corner of the Veshet. Really? Okay, Gargaris is used interchangeably for both. That's a chiddush. The shayla chamim, one of them has become dislocated. Oshneim or Muslim kodem because shita has been completed. I can't show. Perches kosam. Perches he writes lechi ha'elyon shnita. If the upper jaw is removed, treifa it's treifa, and this nachdem with the lower jaw is removed. Because shenigmam is such as where it's become separated. Amakom simonim up to the simonim v'lo nekru, but they haven't become uprooted. Hareizim muteres mutzar kan l'shonim. Perches kosam. Perches writes simonim shedadlu b'ruban. Some which collapse in the majority are treifa. V'afil shlo machas zechila, even if it didn't fall and bring about the situation. Chen iskapo, so that they peeled off. Shein no longer suitable for shchita. I spark over towards the mention of the but most of the cap over the esophagus is removed from the cheek. Haizim says that's okay. She had turbat sway b'shchita because the cap is not super b'shchita. Kamoshi biyano, as we explained, kind of showed. Lama base biod vorov. What does a Rambam mean to say? You start to think the turbat savesh dovak belechi. The end of the esophagus is connected, is glued to the jaw. That's Rashi Tav and Gimel. I said that's some but this one themselves, they are not glued to the jaw. And they dangle between the root of the palate and the language and the and the tongue. Where the lower jaw separates. From the Rambam. It's a meaning near the bottom end of the lechi. It's from the Pisham. So when about some of the two themselves are connected to each other. Ulet savor and to the neck, they krumim rakim by soft membranes. But time shikr posel shchita, the reason why it's a bruised posel shchita, they shemachmas ikram is not a dimaswanim. Okay, part of the uprooting the simonim don't stay straight. It's not possible to check the koshes. The shach name the gan. Now move on. So therefore, so America so the Iraqi simonim ain't a mechorim, but kuriosa. So when they are not connected as they were created, it's not the dim. They wobble. They ain't real shchita. So it's a shchita. Therefore, it goes. Obviously, if the son themselves have been severed from the membranes in which they are supposed to be wrapped up, in the neck, to each other. It's not necessarily now wobble. Even the son themselves are connected to their membranes, as they are created. But above the place of the shchita, she had two butts, which is the epiglottis. If it's severed from the cheek, the majority is separated. And therefore, the sweat themselves which are connected to the bottom part of the jaw have also become uprooted as a result. And there's a private place that the athlete seized on to the flesh or surrounding. So it's component that says surround themselves. Don't even come up or shift from the place. It's clear that if they completely severed from the cheek, the epiglottis in the beginning of the heads of the simonim, they're sitting and standing in the air. They're rocking when they saw male and a flea, of course, they're going to fall, collapse. Okay, that's what's called shmuta, where they're dislocated that way. But then because these couples that's going to fold it. Fold each other. Because they become peeled off of the cheek. That says is language of bending, but also language of peeling. And Rashi. Back out the brackets. If the majority of the epiglottis is this loke is plucked away, and that kind of dislodged me'alechi. The some lechi, and only the end is connected to lechi. They mele makom shabom mechubarim hasimon lekatz lechi mechubarim ba'lechi. That's good enough, evidently, because the place where they're connected to the lechi, they're connected. It's not coming there in the right place. That's the shchita. So the fool has to be really wet to got completely dislocated from zero location. So he's going to go on and give 3 categories of halacha, but we will not see that today. We'll see it at a different time. Here, it's Hashem tomorrow.